Hi, it's Vex, and today I want to discuss my first Pioneer deck, Lotus Breach. As the name illustrates, it centers around Lotus Field and Underworld Breach. As previously stated before in my Storm decks, I love storming off. I love comboing off. I love taking one big turn, casting a lot of spells, making a lot of mana, drawing a lot of cards, and then killing the opponent. And this is the Pioneer version of Storm. There's no Storm proper cards. Um, However, this acts like a Storm deck where you just cast a lot of spells, draw a lot of cards, go through your whole deck, and win the game. And by winning the game, there are two methods to winning the game. Essentially, you want to deck yourself and cast Jace, Wielder of Mysteries with an empty library, or Thassa's Oracle with an empty library. The Thassa's Oracle is inside your deck. The Jace is in your sideboard, which you could use to wish for with Fae of Wishes. Right here, Fae of Wishes has Granted, so if you can cast Granted for 3 and a blue. You may choose a non-creature card you own from outside the game, reveal it, and put it in your hand. You own from outside the game in tournament play essentially means your sideboard. So as you can see, let me get my sideboard for you. Jace is in the sideboard. So essentially, it's all non-creature spells. Ugin, if you need to do its minus ability, destroy some permanents. Removal, Hour of Devastation, Anger of Gods, Bewelt. An Underworld Breach is in your sideboard, just in case you don't have it in your hand. You can use Fae Wish to grab it. Some Ratchet Bomb, Tome Scour, and Alpine Moon. Tome Scour is essentially the card you want to get first when you do Fae of Wishes, because that allows you to deck yourself. I know usually you read the card target player puts the top 5 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. You usually do it on the opponent, but here you actually do it to yourself, which is pretty neat. So let's go over all the card choices and go through each card. And let's actually goldfish. At the end of this, I'll actually goldfish the full combo, so there's no confusion how it works. Because a lot of people say this is how it works, and you Tome Scour yourself, and then Hidden Strings, Tome Scour yourself. It's kind of hard to understand without watching somebody do the full combo. So I'll do the full combo and show you how I win, either with Thassa's Oracle or with Jace. I'll show you both ways. So let's go through each individual set of cards in the deck and talk about those cards. First, the important part is the mana. So you have 4 Lotus Fields in the deck. This is your main land. You definitely want to always have 1. I believe you cannot win without 1. Then you have Thespian Stages. As you can see, I have a bunch of foils from this deck. Some are not foiled, as these 3 Thespian Stages aren't foiled yet. But this is foiled, so I'm working on foiling this deck. And one day, slowly, I have this deck foiled. Hopefully I don't ban any cards before I finish foiling the deck. The Thespian Stage will copy the Lotus Field, essentially having 2 Lotus Fields on the battlefield. As Lotus Field requires you to sacrifice 2 lands when it enters the battlefield. So this is you lose 2 lands in the graveyard to get the Lotus Field out, but Thespian Stage, when you copy it, does not require you to sacrifice 2 lands, since it doesn't enter the battlefield when you copy it. So it's a really cheap way to make a copy of Lotus Field. You don't technically need it to win. The Go Fishing, I will show you how to use it to win, but if I have time on another video, I could go fish another hand without the copy. As you can see, so the other lands are essentially, this is a base Simic deck. So put these lands aside here. Basic Simic deck. You have your 4 Yavimaya Coast, so you really want to untap those. Botanical Sanctum as your other Simic land, and your Temple of Mystery to scry. The cool part with Botanical Sanctum is if you have, let's say hypothetically, these 2 lands in play, and your 3rd land is a Lotus Field, you sacrifice these lands into your yard. And your next Botanical Sanctum will come and play untapped, even though you have 4 mana, because you only have the 1 land in Botanical Sanctum. So it's a really cool trick with that one there. So those are the Simic lands. Some of the extra lands that we have are 2 Blast Zones. Take care of any problematic permanent you might encounter. The basic forest. Always good to have basic. If somebody Field of Ruins you, they cannot Field of Ruin the Lotus Field because it does have hexproof. Remember that. Shelter Thicket to cycle if you need to. Ipnu Rivulet. So this is good against Inverter to deck them if necessary, or to fuel your Underworld Breach by milling yourself 4 cards. So that's the land suite there. So I'll put those aside here. So yeah, this has 25 lands. Very important to get those lands. Here are ways to get lands. Sylvan Scrying. So you always want to keep a hand with a way to get Lotus Field on, or with a Lotus Field in your hand, or a way to get it via Sylvan Scrying, or perhaps another dig spell. See if I can find it here. Strategic Planning helps you dig right there for your lands or for missing combo pieces. So we'll get back to that one. Boreal Grazer helps you ramp. And it's a really good blocker. It's 0-3. It has reach. Don't forget it has reach. Helps you put lands to the battlefield. So it helps you ramp a little bit. And Seder Wayfinder does 2 things. It helps you fuel your graveyard, and also helps you find your land. Now remember, if you have all the lands you need, you could decline to put the land in your hand and put all 4 cards in the graveyard, just in case you need to fuel the Underworld Breach. So those are your land-related cards there. As I mentioned, Strategic Plan helps you dig. As you read the card, looks at the top 3, put 1 of them in the hand, rest in the graveyard. So when you play this card, you're going to put this card and 2 other cards in the graveyard. So it just feels one use of Underworld Breach, which is really cool. And remember, it does not draw a card, so it gets you around Narset. Then there's the most important card, Underworld Breach. There's 3 of them here, because you have the Fae of Wishes to either get the Underworld Breach to start your combo, get the Tome Scour, get Jace, get Ugin, get any cards you need. So that's why there's 1 in the sideboard, 3 in the main deck here. We have the Untappers, Vizier of Tumbling Sands right here. So you could play it as a creature and then tap him to untap another permanent. Usually you could tap him to untap a Lotus Field. This is how another way you can win without a Thespian Stages if you have one of these Viziers. Most time we cycle this we pay 3 here, cycle for 2, so you net 1 to untap a permanent and draw a card. So 4 of those, very important cards. Pour Over Pages, right here, 4 of those. Draw 3, untap 2 lands, and discard cards. So if you have 2 Lotus Fields or a Lotus Field and a Thespian Stage copy of Lotus Field, you could just draw 3, untap 2 lands, and discard cards. So this puts this card and another card in the graveyard. So it nets you mana and fuels your Underworld Breach. So the most important card after you do Underworld Breach is Hidden Strings. You only pay 2. You could tap or untap target permanent. Then you may tap or untap another target permanent. So it lets you untap essentially 2 Lotus Fields and nets you 4 mana. You can also use this as a defensive measure if you have lots of mana to tap your opponent's lands. If they're control deck, you think they have a counter spell, they'll float mana, then you can go to your next main phase and essentially tap them out if necessary. We have 1 utility card in the main deck, Blink of an Eye, along with the 2 Blast Zones to take care of some problematic permanents like Damping Sphere. If if you have lots of pour over pages that get affected by Narset, then you could bounce it. So that is the quick deck. Let's go through the sideboard real quick. Again, you have Ugin, Jace is a win condition. Thought Distortion, again, really good against control decks. They keep an entire hand of non-creature, non-land cards. You can just grab this, and if they actually let you grab it, you can just hold it in your hand. You don't really need to cast it. There's the threat of having this makes them a little scared. So this is a really cool card and can't be countered. So removal, Hour of Devastation, Anger of Gods. Usually side this one in so it can be quick against aggressive decks. This one you could sometimes side in, sometimes use Fate of Wishes if you have time. Lost Legacy against Inverter, you might want to take all their inverters, make it harder for them to win. Against the Mirror, you might want to take Fate of Wishes. Wilt against Stamping Spheres, the extra Underworld Breach. More utility removal, Ratchet Bomb can be used against Stamping Sphere, etc. Problematic permanents, Tome Scour, Alpine Moon against the Mirror. It's 1 mana card, can destroy the Mirror unless they find a way, a Blast Zone or Blink of an Eye, but it just gives you time. So that's the sideboard. All right, I'm gonna shuffle up these cards and present to you a sample hand and go through the entire loop. It's kind of like gold fishing. Once you start going through a loop and the opponent can't do anything. I play in tournaments and all the opponents make me go through a loop because they hope I mess up. So let's see how it goes. I'll be right back. All right, we're back. So let's get 7 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, perfect. Okay, let's take a look at our cards here. Awesome. So we have a Lotus Field to start off with. So it's definitely a card we want to have in our opening hand or a way to get it. We have a Boreal Grazer to ramp us. A green untap land to play a Boreal Grazer turn 1. Strategic Planning to dig in our deck. And Fate of Wishes to get our combo piece. Either Tome Scour or Underworld Breach. So this is a really strong hand. So we'll see how it goes. So let's do this. Say we're on the play. And we're go fishing against another deck that can't really interact with us. So let's say an aggro deck. So first thing what we're going to do is play Yavimaya Coast here. I'm going to tap this, play a Boreal Grazer here. Then put a Temple Mystery into the battlefield. Then we're going to check our deck. Stride one. Boreal Grazer, I don't think we need that anymore, so we'll put it at the bottom there. Yeah, so that's great. First turn, 3 permanents. Opponent has 0, so start our next turn here. We'll just untap. Draw our card. So now you can have the haste creature, Bowman Courier, wherever. We can block them. So it's great. So here we have a Botanical Sanctum. So what we could do is we could float a mana. So we've taken 1 point damage, so we're at 19. Float 2 mana. Play Lotus Field, comes in play tapped. And then sacrifice our 2 lands. So right there. Then we're going to play Sylvan Scrying. Here's where we're just going to look through our deck. And then the next important card is that Thespian Sage you talked about. Let's go find it. We'll clump together here. So we have our Thespian Sage. We'll put this in our hand. That's our hand here. Shuffle this up a little bit. Shuffling here. I know this deck doesn't shuffle that much, no fetch lands, just Sylvan Scrying. So we have these cards. Okay, so untap. We have 1 land, but it produces 3 mana of any 1 single color. So draw a card. Portal Pages sounds great. So this is where we want to definitely do the Thespian Stage trick. We could do other things, but I think our most important thing is to do Decimal States. Now, if they have Field of Ruin, if it's tapped out, always remember to do a Decimal does not have hexproof to it copies, so try to copy at a really opportune time. So now we're gonna have a Lotus Field. This is a copy of Lotus Field here, and then pass turn. So next turn, go. So now we have 2 Lotus Fields, hidden strings. All right. So Botanical Sanctum, usually you want to save this just in case you get another copy land, but we already have these things. So this would be our combo turn potential here. So let's do, I would do Pour Over Pages. So we have our cool little mana icons. We don't need that Boreal Grazer that much anymore. So I'm going to tap this for all blue. So 6 blue. We're going to use all of it. It's down to 1. Pour Over Pages. So we're going to draw 3 cards. And then we're going to discard a card. Definitely don't want this extra Lotus Field. Always keep track of the number of cards you have in your graveyard. It's very important with Underworld Breach. There, so I'm going to rearrange a couple things here. And then untap 2 lands. Right, so now we're fueling our Underworld Breach with that. We have 1 blue floating, which is great. A lot of things. So let's just do, let's generate some more blue mana. So we'll tap again. We'll go up to 7. We'll use 2. Down to 5. 5 here. Use 2 to untap these guys. Here, I'm gonna keep this. So this is very important. So I usually keep it in a separate pile. The very important cards. The other cards that can be exiled to Underworld Breach, I just keep on this side. So these are the very important cards. Let's move these over here. My graveyard. So deck here. Let's put the very important cards here. Some graveyard cards here. There you go. I know it gets really messy trying to do this on camera, but that's the way it looks right there. You're making blue mana most of the time, so we have that. You usually go Vizier, cycle, so I just tap, go up to 8, down to 6 to cycle. And in cycling, I'll untap this land and draw a card. Pour Over Pages is great, so I want more mana. So let's tap this. Go up to 12, back down to 7 for another Pour Over the Pages. So just draw 1, 2, sweet, that's the card we really wanted right there. And untap. So I'm just gonna move this Boreal Grazer here. We're gonna get our last little guy here, red. Courtesy of the Epic Storm. So now I think we just put this land down here because now we have all the things we need. As I mentioned with Narset, you can't really do this, but essentially since we have Fae of Wishes, you could do this to discard a card in your hand and not draw 3 cards. And untap 2 lands, so it still generates mana. It just gives you a little card disadvantage, but if you have extra cards, it doesn't really matter. So now we can cast Underworld Breach. So what we want to do is tap this for 3 red. So I have 3 red here. And essentially use 2 of them to cast your Underworld Breach. Now here's a trick, is if you have an extra Underworld Breach in here and you think you might get Abrupt Decayed, you can instantly cast a second Underworld Breach to avoid getting hit with the Abrupt Decay. So that's tapped. So right now what we want to do is we want to use the 1 here and 3 here. Let's go on to 4. We are going to cast Granted. So this will be in Adventure Zone right there to go to our sideboard. and cast Tome Scour. Or get Tome Scour put in your hand. You can't cast it right away yet. So at this point, all we need is Tome Scour. We don't even need this anymore. And Hidden Strings. So what you're going to do is essentially pay 1, Tome Scour yourself for 5 cards. 2, 3, 4, 5. Put those in the yard. And it doesn't really matter what's in your hand, but let's keep it here. Tap this, go up to 7. Hidden Strings these 2 items, go down to 5. So you gotta be very careful how you do this. And then you use 3 to cast Hidden Strings. So I'm gonna exile here 3 cards from Underworld Breach to cast Hidden Strings from your graveyard. Cast this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to Tome Scour 5 times, but I'll do it 5 individual times for you to see. But I'll just get rid of the mana to make it a little more efficient. So at this point we don't need green or red mana, so it's just blue only. So what you do is remove 3 cards, cast Tome Scour once, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then remove another 3 cards. Tome Scour twice, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then remove, another 3 cards. Tome Scour for the 3rd time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make sure you don't remove Thassa's Oracle if you want to use that kill. Remove 3 cards, cast Tome Scour for a 4th time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remove 3 cards, cast Tome Scour for the 5th time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so now we're in this state here, and we need more mana. So what you're gonna do is float 6 mana down to 4. Remove 3 cards, cast Hidden Strings. So 1, 2, 3. Then we're gonna cast Hidden Strings here. Untap these cards. And then cast Tome Scour another time, exiling 3 cards. Again, make sure you don't exile your Thassa's Oracle. That's why you have to be very careful. You know yourself 5 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I'm gonna remove 3 cards, pay 1 mana, cast Tome Scour. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remove 3 cards, use 1 mana, cast Tome Scour. This should be the last of your cards here. And even if you did remove Thassa's Oracle, let's check our graveyard, our exile pile here. No Thassa's Oracle removed, so we're good. Actually, I have Thassa's Oracle right here. Let's say we did exile Thassa's Oracle accidentally, because we totally forgot. So I'm gonna put Thassa's Oracle in the exile pile here. So let's say we accidentally did that, because for some reason, and we tap here, 7 mana. What we're gonna do is, since we don't have anything else to Tome Scour, we're gonna Hidden Strings, exiling 3 cards, 1, 2, 3. Untap, pay 2 mana to exile, to play Hidden Strings. So you have 5 mana. So now what we want to do is, if you want to have extra mana, you could tap 2, go to 11, and then remove 3 cards again. Remember not to keep a Fey Wishes in there. I mean, you still have Fey Wishes you cast in exile, but it's easier to cast from your graveyard. Move 3 cards, pay 2 mana, so down to 9. Cast Hidden Strings, untap. What you're gonna do is you're gonna remove 3 cards. Cast Granted. Granted from here. You're gonna put in the Adventure Zone again. Grab Jace. You can still have 2 cards in your library if you grab Jace, because his ability, target player puts the top 2 cards, so he'll mill 2 and then try to draw from an empty library. So just remember that if you don't have enough mana to actually get your last 2 cards. So I cast Granted. That costs 4 mana, so another 5. I have Jace, put Jace in my hand. What's going to happen is I spend 4 mana, put Jace on the battlefield with 4 loyalty counters. And then what I'll do is, you gotta make sure that Jace won't die. But if they kill him, then you can just recast him again. And then I will uptick him, try draw from an empty library, and I win the game. So that's how that deck works. I know it's pretty long. You know, I have to go through the entire deck. All these cards are exiled. I have, you know, a miniature graveyard left. I have a couple Fatal Wishes in exile. Fatal Wishes can be used as a creature. You can play him as creature, and then use the ability right here to discard 2 cards. So fill your graveyard even more if you need to, and put this back in your hand to cast Granted again. So these are cards left in my hand. As you can see, that's how the full combo works. So I'd like to thank you for watching my video. I always like to ask a question at the very end. What do you guys think of Pioneer? I know it's not the most popular format now during this pandemic, but you know, I really like Pioneer. I like it that I don't have to use fetch lands. It makes the gameplay a little different. Again, I'd like to thank you for watching my video. Don't forget to thumbs up the video if you like my content. Definitely subscribe to my video. I've got great things coming with more paper magic, more foils. So again, I thank you.